Anyway, it was 1987, March or April, and Randy here called me up one day and he says, I met this kid, lives over on Van Ness with his mom and his dad, and he plays drums. And I'm the guitar player, and Randy said, I'm going over to jam with him. And I said, well, why don't I go with you and we'll just take him over, because we always looking for new drummers and stuff. So I went over and played with him, and once we played with him, he started calling Randy like every week. Do you have a gig for me? Let me sit in, let me come out and play, let me do a gig. So he did one, and then about Christmas time, 1987, my drummer had to call and quit. So it was my job to call and see if I could get Sean hooked up. Well, I called over, and his father had sadly just passed away. And I had to tell, I think it was Sharon, I think I said, I'm Big Al, and I'm in a band, and I need to talk to your brother Sean about playing with us for New Year's. And she goes, really? You probably don't remember that, do you? It might have been Kathleen, one of you. It was totally inappropriate, and I should have done it, but I had to. So we hooked him up, and he joined the band, and we went to Bass Lake at the Pines, and we played a New Year's Eve gig, which was a real cool gig. We got done with the gig, we went to this cabin where we all bunked up together, and we partied and did our thing, and at the end of the night, as soon as the lights went out, Sean said, by the way, I snore. And I mean, nobody slept the whole night. He was like a chainsaw. I bet Tony knows about that too. And we had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with Sean, and he was our brother, and it's a sad, sad thing, but we're all here having a good time, and I sure appreciate the family, including me in some of the deals over the years. I'm bad with names, so I'd get Sharon and Kathleen's husbands' names mixed up. And so we'd be at an event, and Shaw would come up and say, that's Jim. Okay. And one time he jerked me around intentionally. He goes, that's Jim. Well, it wasn't, it was Doug. I said, yeah, that's not cool, man.
My name is Randy, and I'm the faithful renter of Sean's house that he has, and he's been there forever and ever. And he always had a place for all of us lived there at a time, and I lived there on and off. And it was always a great time and a lot of fun. Great guy, as you always know. And but it's been tough the last 6 months or so, and when his health was failing him, and it's all what comes down. And I always say, you're happening till you ain't, and that's the truth. And that goes for everybody and everything, but he was a great guy all the time, all the way to the end. But I'm glad that everybody came out here, because he's wandering around out here right now, man, with everybody, I've been seeing it. But hey, he's in a better place and no more suffering, and that's what it's all about, man. I want you all to give him a big round of applause, man, just for being around and being his friend and being a relative. And God bless you, Sean. We'll never forget you, man. We still got his drums over at the house if you want to come over and sit in and jam, so it's a good thing, man. Here you go, Richie.
I'm Rich Madrano. I was the singer for the Future, and Al said I have to say something nice. So I don't know about that, but a lot of things I can think of aren't really appropriate, but I just remember Sean sitting behind the drums, and I look back at him, he'd smash his cymbal so I couldn't hear a thing, and I know he loved that.
Throwing a stick at you.
He threw sticks at me, he broke my keyboards with his drumsticks, he did lots of good stuff. But there's a lot of songs we hear on the classic rock stations that we played together, and my heart's just broken listening to those songs, and I'll never forget him. He's a great guy, a great drummer, a great friend. I was real blessed to know him.
Yeah, a favorite story of mine, he used to tell me stories about his dad, who I never met. If you get a chance, talk to David. He knows one about a golf tournament we talked about today, where Sean's dad had kind of jerked the Marshall around a little bit. Good stuff, real good stuff. And one time we were at Bass Lake. They had a house up there, and we would play up there at Bass Lake or Oakhurst. We'd stay there all weekend. One time Sean got up off the couch, which is where he stayed the whole weekend, and his hair was kind of standing up. There wasn't a whole lot of it. It was just kind of right here. So I told him, I said, "Hey man, your hairs are messed up." He laughed pretty hard about that. And I said, "And by the way, you smell tired." Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good time. And I'm like Richie, man. My heart's completely broken over this, but
You don't know me,
he's in a
my name
better
is Jeff
place.
Schuler. Good friend of Sean and David McCarthy. Actually, I met Sean working at Hendricks Chevrolet. It's nice to see a lot of you out here, but Sean had a special place, man. He just was such a good, funny man, and just a big teddy bear. You know, he could always make you smile, like they're saying. But I always remember Sean being a mediator between David and I. We used to fight with each other at Hollowell, Hendricks, every day. And Sean would put out the flames and, you know, just keep us happy. And a lot of good memories with Sean. He came over one year and was living in Las Vegas, and we got to play Badlands Golf Course. And he had this beer cart lady just absolutely rolling. I mean, she was taking pictures of us. He was on his knees, hitting golf shots. She was following us around. I think she was having more fun than we were. But that was a lot of fun over there. I think Ray and David was with us as well. And so I just want to say a little something about Sean. And so God bless his family, a wonderful family, nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters. I'm going to miss him tremendously. And as for the Hendricks family as well, and the Hallowell Hendricks family, just God bless you guys, and God bless Sean, and hopefully let's see him sooner or later than sooner. You know, I'm sure he's blessed a lot of people, obviously.
I'm Casey Klinger, Brett. You know me. Big Al reminded me of one story with Sean snoring. We were at Lake Tahoe, and we're in different hotels and stuff, and we find out the next night that the hotel had called Sean, telling him that he was being too loud in his room and making too much noise. And Sean goes, "Well, how can that be? I'm sleeping through it." I guess he had been snoring so loud that the neighbors were actually complaining in the other room. And then I used to see David, and when Sean first started working for us, David was a long time ago, and his mom had bought him a used car from us. And Sean's out delivering it, of course, showing David how it works and things like that. David and Sean are almost in a fist fight out on this lot out there because David insisted there were floor mats in the car when it was an old used car. He had insisted there were floor mats in it when he had looked at it the day before, and they go back and forth and back and forth. And finally, Sean says, "Yeah, David, I took your used car floor mats out for $6 to sell them." But he was just, like everybody said, just a sweetheart guy. Always comes off big and gruff, but Renee reminded me, I forgot all about it. We were over at our house one night at Christmas time making Christmas tree ornaments, gluing, making these balls of fire, we called them. It was just funny. Sean being Sean. And one other thing I was going to think of.
Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah, okay. Everybody keeps talking about Sean hitting off his knee, his golf shot. And I know a ton of you, Tony, everybody's seen it a million times that's ever golfed with Sean. He could hit a ball farther off his knees than I've ever wanted to hit it 3 times. But we were playing in a golf tournament up at, it was Copper River at the time. And Michael Jordan was a part of it, and everybody knows Michael Jordan's a good golfer. And Sean lines up and to hit this ball off his knees, and Michael Jordan is just amazed by it. He starts, "Hey, trick shot, show me that again." I think if Michael Jordan calls you a trick shot, I always thought that was a pretty cool, pretty classic. Anyway, but we'll miss him, and
My reputation precedes me on this.
You know, when me and Sean were growing up, we couldn't stand each other. We fought like cats and dogs. We never got along. You know, I was always having to drag him to go play with my friends. You know, my mom and dad would say, take your brother with you or you're not going. So we didn't become friends until I got sober, and then became best friends. And we fought a lot. We were fighting siblings, but God, I was over there talking with my wife and Clint, and like, what Sean story should I tell? There were so many of them. And the one that I could tell in mixed company, when Sean was 17, he was living at home, and I had got my car taken away from me because of my actions, and so Sean was driving my Monte Carlo, and Sean was a little overweight at that time, to say the least, and so my dad and my mom put him on a diet. So the deal was, when my dad got home from work on a Friday, in order for Sean to be able to use the car, he had to have either lost a little bit of weight or had not gained any weight. So conveniently, Sean would be in the backyard chipping golf balls every Friday afternoon when my dad got home. So my dad would walk out the sliding door from the master bedroom out by the pool where the grass area was and says, come on, Sean, let's get on the scale. So Sean would walk over to the scale. He'd have his wedge in his hand. He'd stand on the scale. And he'd just barely lean a little bit on his weight. My dad would be like, he'd be scratching his head, shaking his head, telling Marty, that boy hasn't lost any weight, or he hasn't gained any weight. He's as big as a house. And Sean didn't tell my dad the truth for many, many years, but when he did tell my dad was not happy. If you put John McCarthy together, you did something special. My dad was hard to get one over with. I'm going to tell one Vegas story. And Sean would want me to tell this story. Okay. We were all over in Vegas for Bobby's wedding. Ray and Sean were sharing a room. I think we were at the Bellagio. And it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And outside each elevator, there was a sitting table with 2 chairs. And the security guard is tapping Sean on the knee with his flashlight. Excuse me, sir, are you staying here at the hotel? Now, I forgot one important part about the story. Sean is in only his underwear. So, all we can figure out is that he must have obviously had a little too much to drink, and he went outside for something, locked himself out of the door, and he thought he was in his room. And so the security guard was saying, let me help you to your room. You know, what's your room number? I don't know, 724, 742. Well, let's go help you find your room. So Sean gets ready to knock on the first door he comes to. And the guy said, wait, sir, you sure this isn't your room further on down? 3 doors down was all of Sean's clothes hanging off the doorknob. And I'm going to guess probably to this day that they are still showing that video at their annual Christmas party where Sean blocked out. But I'm sure they had a lot of fun with that one. So, I love my brother. I cannot tell you how much I'm going to miss my brother. We fought, we laughed, we cried. I've got to just embellish a little bit on Richard's story. The story that Richard told in the eulogy today was a little bit funnier than Richard could probably get across to you. So I'm going to kind of build it up a little bit. Richard had been practicing this fabulous magic trick for days, you know. He wanted to just dazzle Sean McCarthy. You know, when Richard and Sean were working at Hallowell, he pulled so many tricks on Richard. You know, Richard, you know, he would call Richard the cheap little, whatever nationality. I don't want to offend anybody, but Richard, you know, Sean would get change, and Sean would throw change on the ground, and Richard would go over and pick it up. So one day, Sean had a slug. He had a slug palmed in his hand, and he had a quarter in between his thumb and his forefinger, and across from across the showroom. Richard, look what I got. And he went to throw it, and he kept the quarter, and he threw the slug. And the slug landed completely in the middle of the floor under a vehicle. and Richard scurried over there, scurried under the car, only to pick up the slug. So he wanted to get, he wanted to dazzle me and Sean. We met at Livingston's that night for dinner. And the thing was, if I can try to get this correct, he had copied this dollar bill, he had taken the real dollar bill, and he was going to burn what we thought was the real dollar bill, and then he was going to open up this piece of fruit to show us the bill that we thought he had just burned up. Well, I guess when he copied the bills, one half wasn't copied or something or other, but when Richard showed me and Sean the dollar bill, he had his finger covering one half of the bill with the number. See, he said these bills are these numbers are the same. And Sean said, let me see it. Well, Richard had made such an obvious attempt to cover up the number. Sean said, now, granted, this is only 30 seconds into this magic trick that Richard has been practicing for 3 days. Sean said, let me see it, Richard. And he pulled his finger away. Well, now he's busted. Now the whole trick is just completely blown out. It's done. There's no trick anymore. And Richard's like, damn McCarthy's, I swear to God, I knew I shouldn't have showed it to you guys together. So he cuts the fruit open, the lemon, to get the dollar out. Now the trick is blown out, and he's trying to tell us how the trick was. Well, first of all, when he put the super glue in the dollar bill to glue it inside the lemon, he put so much super glue it took 3 of us to jar it loose from the lemon. Even if he had gotten that far on the trick, he would have never been able to show us, because the glue had glued the super glue together, or the dollar bill together so much, there was no way we're ever going to be able to compare that as the real dollar bill. So my brother and I laughed, and my wife was there too. We laughed, and Lucinda, his wife, laughed every bit as hard as me and Sean and my wife. And we laughed probably for 40, they must have thought we were deranged on the sidewalk of Livingston. We laughed that hard. And I gave Richard the dollar bill today to keep. That's his memento of Sean. And that whole night we were jibing Richard about it. That'd make a great toothpick. That'd make a great swizzle stick for your drink. Sean's he's mixing his drink with it at the Planet Cafe or when we got their next drinks. But Richard was always a very good sport about it. So there's lots of other stories, and I want you guys to come up here and tell your. I'm going to tell you the one about that Al talked about. Sean was playing junior golf, and I guess back at that time you couldn't help the kids look for their golf ball, and Sean hit a ball into the rough, and he was over. My dad was over there looking for the golf ball, and the Barney Fife marshal came up, the old crotchety marshal. Hey, you can't help the kid look for their golf ball. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. So about 2 holes later, my dad and some other dads were over there looking for the golf ball, and the crotchety marshal comes up and says, hey, I told you can't help the kids look for their golf ball. He goes, it's not my son's golf ball, it's his opponent's golf ball I'm looking for. I don't care, if you do it again, it's going to cost your son 2 strokes. Or the hole, I don't know if they were playing match or metal. So about 4 holes later, Sean turns to my dad and says, where's that marshal? I haven't seen him for a while. Oh, he won't be bothering us anymore. He pulls in his pocket and pulls out the guy's golf cart key. My dad had waited for the furthest hole on the golf course and went over and grabbed the key out of the cart and stuck it in his pocket and walked away. And anybody that knows my dad can see Big John doing that. Anyway, I want to, this is a turnout that Sean would have wanted. I'm sorry he left us as soon as he did, and he was my best friend. I was very close to my brother the last 20 years, and I'm going to miss him a lot, and I know you guys will too. Thank you.